So before, like I said, I'm not a pastor, priest, or first lady or anything like that, and I use first delivery with my churches. So the churches that I opened, they're operated independently of each other. They're operated independently, and they're just basic traditional churches that are working to be cathedrals. They do operate regular church service, regular hours. They don't have anything fancy. They don't have, the only thing that we are there for is the aesthetics. And I built the aesthetics for my personal churches myself. So they have to stay within budget. And the only thing that our churches are allowed to spend is the earned interest they make off their bank account. So for myself personally, the offering budget that was added to what everybody already had is approximately 24 billion split between 850,000 churches. And I have personally decided on, and this came from my filing different filings for invoice A, invoice B, invoice C, invoice H, invoice F, and I filed it on my personal income taxes and stuff, and I want my credit for it. So, with myself personally, each of my churches also has a corporate chaplain service, which we will be discussing later, working on it. We are working on the corporate chaplain services at the moment. I don't have them completely locked down, but like I said, 38 churches per company. Each of them is going to have a corporate chaplain center for assistance for those that need it. And I have personally remaining I have personally remaining I don't want to tell y'all wrong. I'll be working with a lot of numbers throughout the day. Well, I split it down. What I was going to give was 49 billion in offerings just for myself, but I wasn't just going to willingly give it. I was going to give each church between 850,000, 24 billion, 500 million all together globally. And then the remainder 24 billion, 500 million would be mine as an offering budget of myself and for myself at 0.75% APY in a high yield savings account. And I will use it for philanthropy grants when I'm overseas doing things, and that's what I tell them about my bank accounts and stuff. With the business checking account, this would be personal business related. So with my 24 billion, 500 million, I would be doing philanthropy, scholarships, grants, and endowments and things like that. But it will be one section inside my personal home for myself, and while you're using it, I also pay for the operating of the account, which is about 15% to actually operate that. So that will approximately be 18.3 billion a year, and then approximately 2.7 billion a year to operate the 18 billion out of the 18 billion. So that'll be for my personal offerings, but each church will be, I ain't gonna say would have been, when I use my revocable living trust, I use it alongside Think Modern, which I also wrote. I reorganized my revocable living trust to work right now so I can spend stuff right now without dying or without penalty. And it operates like a limited liability company, not in the way that a regular revocable living trust will work, like you can find on state employees website. I came up from state employees, so state employees credit union, so I used part of their site, but I rebuilt my revocable living trust because I still bank with state employees credit union. Not a bad bank. Local government, federal credit union is not a bad bank either. If you know what you're doing, it's not really a bank, it's a credit union. But mine is a financial technology company, so it's great to bank at a credit union. With myself personally, though, I used part of their revocable living trust because when I was getting my state championships, I went by what bank I was with while I was getting my state championships, national championships, titles, and working my volunteerism and stuff, which was State Employees Credit Union, and local government federal credit union came after I personally opened up that account. So I didn't use that for any of the scouts or anything. It's just my championships and titles and stuff like that when I was in high school. So personally, I built a country club off of all of that stuff to an extent, and then I built a law firm so it's built into a financial technology company that pays out dividends each year. It pays out an income each year. It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't cost the membership anything. That's why the membership was complimentary. But that's what I plan to do with the church ties. And I want them to use my operational plan because it in itself, paying my church ties in itself allows me to build like a studio album that is built for multiple cultures, multiple sounds, ethnic rhythm, samples, very soulful, very flavorful, very full and flagrant and edgy is what I'm going for with my church time and operational plan because outside the churches getting what they're getting, they're also competing to be the best church and to an extent. And I use the same budget. I don't cheat on my budget. I use what I got. So I don't use extra out of the offering budget to enhance my churches except where I've actually earned it. And I'm not forcing myself to look at my offering budget and go, how can I pull money out of? No, I have to go in the community to get the type of deals that I want as my church because I have to think, what if that was my day job? What was that if that's my only job? I only spend probably about an hour of it a week, hour of my time a week on my church tithing operational plan and all the things that going on with the church. Why? Because I hired a pastor. I hire positions personally. I hire positions, not the people in them all the time. When I hire you for a position and I use your name specifically, you're cared about. But for the positions, I hired a pastor, hired a first lady, hired ushers, hired volunteer staff, hired a corporate chaplain, hired a service team to service the church. And then I went in there and made sure each member at my church could eat. They could, throughout the week, there's enough tea, there's enough Gatorade, there's enough lemonade, there's enough water, there's enough flavored sparkling sodas that you get about 79 cents in the dollar store. There's enough ramen noodles that are always readily available, grits, oatmeal, oats, things that come from the food pantry where the Amish would make it. The Amish would build it. Like, there's a lot of Amish stores. I like using Petals and Produce for my personal. So when I do the church stuff, I try to find stuff that is functional. I find food that is functional and in abundance. There should always be enough bread, always be enough things to eat in the house that don't require much work. Because you remember, you're operating each church off the earned interest, but it's not coming out the offering budget. So that's what I'm going to do with each of those churches. And like I said, that's approximately 200 churches that I got to do that for. So, and they're not allowed to shop right on Alibaba and get that stuff because they're not going to resell that stuff. But there's enough for a meal after every service on Sunday and a few meals throughout the week. And ordering food like most normal regular churches and stuff is very traditional, but I just wanted to use my budget better than everybody else and kind of throw out that competition a little bit over there. That's what happened with my tithes and my tithing and offerings. So that's full disclosure and transparency. So don't try to rob nothing, because while you on that type of operating agreement, that operating agreement is condensed, it's clean, and it is built for a master's degree and a doctorate degree.